This is Into Math for 3rd grade, lesson 13.7. Use fractions to measure lengths. I can measure lengths to the nearest half or fourth of an inch using a ruler. Please gather your workbook and a pencil and turn to page 378. We will begin under Build Understanding Part 1. Measure the length of a leaf. Use a ruler marked with ½ inches. Part A asks us to line up the left end of the leaf with the 0 mark on the ruler. This is really important when we are using a ruler to always start at that 0 mark, which is shown here. It's important to know that on a ruler, it won't say 0, but we know that this is the 0 mark and where we need to start because this part comes before the 1st inch. We notice that on the ruler, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches shown. Let's take a look at part B. What length does the mark on the ruler between 1 and 2 show, and how do you know? So we are looking at 1 and 2, and there is a mark halfway between 1 and 2. So the length between 1 and 2 would be 1 and 1/2. So we can answer the question that the between 1 and 2, the mark between 1 and 2 shows 1 and 1/2. And how we know this is the mark is halfway between 1 and 2. So it must be 1 whole inch and a half. The next part, part C, asks us to label each of the other marks on the ruler with a fraction or a mixed number. And remember, a mixed number is a whole number that has a fraction along with it. So if you'd like to pause and do this part on your own, you may do so and come back, or you can follow along with me. So between 0 and 1, we will write that this is halfway to 1, so this is only a half. And we have already written 1/2 in the next section. So we go to the next one here that we need to fill in, and we see that we have 2 inches, and we're going halfway to 3. So we would write 2 whole inches with 1/2 inch. And the next one here, we would write that we have 3 whole inches along with halfway to 4. So that's the fraction would be half. So 3.5 is our mixed number. And our final one here would be, we have 4 whole inches and we have a ½ of an inch. And we'll fill in 4 and 1/2 there. Now we can take a look at part D. Between which 2 marks does the right end of the leaf line up? And remember that you need to know the difference between your left and your right. And so your right would be on this side right here. This is your right, and this is your left over here. It looks like your workbook actually already lined up this blue spot here. And so they're showing you that here's where the leaf on the right side lines up, and what numbers does it fall in between? Well, it looks like it would fall between this number here, 2.5, and this number here, 3. So we can write in between 2.5 and 3 inches. Now let's take a look at part E. Which mark is closer to the right end of the leaf? So we need to see, is it 2.5 or 3 that's closer to that end of the leaf? If we're looking at the very end of this leaf right here, I would say that that's going to be closer to this one right here. So we can write 2 1/2 inches is the one that is closer to the right of the leaf. Now let's take a look at part F. What is the length of the leaf to the nearest ½ inch? So they're asking for the length of the leaf to the nearest ½ inch. And when we are asked for the nearest, that means they're not looking for the exact, they're looking for the closest. And so we've shown that right here is where the leaf ends. And so that's really the closest to 2.5. So we can answer that 2.5 inches is the nearest half inch to where the length of the leaf is. Turn to the next page, page 379, and we're going to take a look at part 2 under Step It Out. Measure the length of this carrot to the nearest fourth or 1/4 inch. Let's take a look at the yellow box that shows a ruler showing fourths is like a number line that is divided into fourths or 4 parts. So remember that we had the 0 and the 1, and this was our halfway mark. That's what we were looking at last time. And now we are looking at a ruler that is divided into fourths. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 lines here. And so each of them represents 1/4 of the inch. So we're going to take a look at this carrot. We're going to measure it. Remember that we're lining it up. Part A says line up the left end of the carrot with the 0 mark on the ruler. And it doesn't say 0, but we know that this is the 0 mark. So we're lining up the left end of the carrot with the 0 mark, and we're finding out the length of this carrot to the nearest fourth. Now we can look at part B that asks us to find the right end of the carrot, which is between something and something inches. They don't give that information, so we need to find that out. If you'd like to pause and try that on your own, you may do so, or just follow along with me. So just like before, they have done a good job of making this line here where the carrot ends. And so we can see exactly where the carrot ends. We notice that it is between the blue and the red line that I have highlighted here. And so we need to find out, what do those lines represent? And we can go back and take a look at our yellow box here to help us understand that between this 3 and this 4, that we have fourths. So this blue line is really saying that it is 3 and 1/4 right here. And the red line would then be 3 and 2/4. So we can write that the right end of the carrot is between 3 and 1/4 and 3 and 2/4. It's somewhere in between those two lines. Let's take a look at part C. Which 1/4 inch mark is closer to the right end of the carrot? Blank inch mark. So if we're looking at that yellow blue dashed line where the carrot ends, which do you think it is closest to? The 3 and 1/4 or the 3 and 2/4? I would agree that it would be closest to 3 and 1/4. So then we can answer part D. The length of the carrot to the nearest 1/4 inch is 3 and 1/4 inches. And again, that means that it's not exact, but it's just the nearest, it's the closest. As always, you can go back and rewatch this video and pause along the way as needed.